May 2, 2025, started like any other day in the small rural town of Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia. The sun rose over the rolling hills, casting a golden glow on the quiet streets, the familiar houses, and the patchwork of forests that surrounded the community. For most residents, it was just another spring morning. Children got ready for school, coffee brewed in kitchens, and the distant hum of cars on the main road filled the air. Inside one particular home on Gearlock Road, life seemed ordinary. Lily Sullivan, 6 years old, was chasing her younger brother, Jack, 4, around the backyard, laughter spilling into the crisp morning air. Their little sister, Meadow, just 1, slept soundly in her crib, unaware of the day's unfolding events. Inside the house, Malayaia Brooks Murray and her partner, Daniel Martell, were busy with the morning routine, packing lunches, tidying up, keeping an eye on Meadow. It was a home like any other, ordinary, calm, safe. Or at least, that's what everyone was led to believe. Then, in a heartbeat, the ordinary became the extraordinary. Malayaia rushed to the phone, calling 911. Her voice trembled, panic seeping into every word. She reported that Lily and Jack had vanished. They had been playing just moments before, she said. She and Daniel had stepped inside for what they described as a short time, and when they came back outside, the children were gone. The 911 operator stayed on the line, asking urgent questions. When were they last seen? What were they wearing? Were there any medical concerns? Every second counted. This was the moment the world began watching. Cameras wouldn't arrive for another hour, but the sense of unease was already setting in. Something about the calmness of the morning, so ordinary, so peaceful, was about to be shattered forever. Before we go further, I want you to pause for a second. Like this video, hit the subscribe button, and drop in the comments the city you're watching from. Are you in the city? The suburbs? Or somewhere remote like Lansdowne Station? Think about how ordinary your morning was, because for Lily and Jack, the day would take a dark turn. And yet, even as the search began, even as neighbors and volunteers started scouring the woods and roads, the first clues that something was off were already emerging. Small details that would later unravel a story far darker than anyone imagined. Within hours, the world knew the names of these missing children. Television crews arrived. Social media buzzed. Volunteers flooded the surrounding forests, radio stations broadcast urgent pleas, and the local community held its collective breath. Malayaia and Daniel appeared on camera, their faces streaked with tears, voices quivering. Malayaia begged for the safe return of her children. Daniel stood beside her, jaw tight, hands shaking ever so slightly. Every gesture, every word, perfectly calculated to draw empathy from the public. The world watched and cried with them. Ribbons were tied to trees, vigils held, prayers whispered. But behind the cameras, trained investigators weren't seeing only grief, they were seeing something else. Subtle movements, fleeting glances, carefully rehearsed phrases. Behavioral inconsistencies that didn't match the story being told. The experts began noting every tiny detail, the way Daniel's hands trembled, the specific words Malayaia used, the pauses in their speech. They knew what grief looked like. And this was different. So, I want to ask you, you watching right now, do you think these parents were telling the truth, or were they hiding something? Think about it, drop a comment below, and let's see what everyone believes. As the world rallied behind them, investigators began to lay the foundation for what would become a case full of contradictions, small lies, and big questions. The public saw heartbreak, but the truth was starting to peek out from the cracks in the story. And that's where the timeline begins to matter, the specific moments when Lily and Jack were last seen alive. Because once you start looking at time, facts, and evidence, the story starts to diverge from what the parents claimed. The last confirmed sighting of Lily and Jack didn't happen on the morning of May 2nd. No, it was nearly 20 hours earlier, captured by a security camera at a Dollarama in New Glasgow. At 2:25 p.m. on May 1st, Lily, Jack, and Meadow were shopping with Malayaia and Daniel. The footage is clear. The children behaved normally, laughing, curious, unaware of the storm about to unfold. The timestamp is undeniable. After that moment, the trail goes cold. For 19.5 hours, no one outside the family can verify the children's whereabouts. No neighbor, no delivery person, no friend, nothing. Only the word of the adults now under the microscope. This is where the first major twist begins. According to Daniel, he stayed home all night. According to Malayaia, the evening was normal, the children went to bed at 9 or 10 p.m. But investigators found surveillance footage from a gas station 30 kilometers away, timestamped 11:47 p.m. showing a man matching Daniel's height, clothing, and even movements filling his gas tank. Experts estimate an 80% probability it was him. The night he claimed to be home? He may have been somewhere else entirely. Imagine the tension in that isolated house. Innocent children missing, or so we thought, and one of the adults responsible for them potentially far away, under the cover of darkness. Every second counts, and yet the story told to the public does not match the evidence. If you were the investigator, what would you check first? Traffic cameras? Witnesses? Security footage? I want you to think about it and drop your answer in the comments below. As investigators dug deeper, small inconsistencies began to pile up, times shifting, activities becoming vague, bedtime routines not lining up. The public was moved, the world grieved, but behind the scenes, a careful, chilling picture started to emerge. And now, with this 19-hour gap and conflicting statements, we're entering a world where every small detail matters, every lie can unravel the narrative, and the truth is far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. As investigators dug deeper into the Sullivan home, the picture started to shift from one of grief to one of suspicion. At first glance, everything seemed ordinary. The parents claimed a normal evening, dinner, television, bedtime. But when asked specifics, exact times, activities, routines, the story kept changing. Malayaia initially said she put the children to bed at 9 p.m., but later changed it to 10. Daniel offered conflicting statements about what the children ate, how long they played, and even when he came to bed himself. To a casual observer, these might seem like small, forgetful errors. But trained investigators saw red flags piling up. Every lie, every shift, was a clue. Small inconsistencies are like cracks in a dam, tiny at first, but capable of revealing the full truth once the pressure builds. Investigators knew that real trauma leaves core memories intact. Parents who lose children under tragic circumstances rarely forget the sequence of final moments. But here, the details were fuzzy, shifting, inconsistent, evidence that someone might be carefully fabricating a story. Meanwhile, the community remained in shock. On the surface, everyone still empathized, still offered prayers, and shared posts on social media. Grief masked suspicion. But in quiet conversations, friends and neighbors started whispering. Something about the parents didn't feel right. Their perfect performance in front of cameras, the tearful pleas, it was convincing, yes, but it didn't entirely match what some witnesses were beginning to notice. What do you think? Are the parents hiding something, or is this just stress and trauma? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's see what the community watching this video thinks. As the inconsistencies grew, investigators knew they had to look beyond interviews. They needed objective evidence. Security footage, forensic analysis, and every available record would soon reveal whether these small lies were hiding something much darker. The first big break came in the form of surveillance footage. Daniel Martell, who claimed to be home all night, was captured on camera at a gas station 30 kilometers away at 11:47 p.m. He pumped gas, wandered inside the convenience store for a few minutes, then left. Experts analyzed his movements, his body language, and his clothing. It suggested agitation, distraction, someone preoccupied, someone nervous. This was the first undeniable sign that the timeline provided by the parents didn't match reality. For the investigators, it was damning. Daniel may not have been home as he claimed, and the gap in the timeline, those 19.5 hours, was suddenly even more critical. The footage also highlighted subtle behavioral cues. Hesitations, glances, repeated checks of surroundings. Experts suggested this could indicate guilt or anxiety, not casual distraction. Every frame told a story that contradicted the carefully crafted narrative the parents had given to the world. The person the world believed was grieving at home may have been far away at a critical moment, the hours when Lily and Jack's fate was unknowable to anyone but the adults they trusted most. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think Daniel was doing at the gas station that night? Comment below and let's start piecing this together. As investigators connected these inconsistencies with timeline gaps, the story began to shift. The world still saw grief-stricken parents, but the pieces of evidence told a much more complicated tale. And the community, unknowingly, was about to notice signs that something wasn't right. While investigators meticulously pieced together facts, the people around the Sullivan home began to notice things too. Friends, neighbors, and even casual observers on social media were catching inconsistencies. Small gestures, moments, behaviors that didn't align with the heartbreak the world had been shown. Neighbors recalled odd moments, a smile that didn't reach the eyes, a sudden change in tone, a vague answer to a simple question. Social media posts that once expressed pure grief started hinting at subtle defensiveness. People began asking questions quietly, wondering if the narrative they had been fed was complete, or if the truth had been obscured. Investigators paid attention to these observations. Discrepancies between what the parents said on camera and what neighbors experienced became additional threads to pull. The picture of Lily and Jack's disappearance was becoming less about tragedy and more about careful deception. Evidence was mounting, but the full story was far from clear. The question now was, how much were Malayaia and Daniel hiding? And more importantly, could they continue fooling everyone? I want to know, what would you do if you were a neighbor or friend watching this unfold? Could they fool everyone around them? Comment your thoughts and theories below. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and share it to support the channel. Every view and comment helps us uncover the truth in cases like this. But while the community questioned and whispers spread, the investigators were closing in on something even more critical, a second twist that would change everything the world thought it knew about Lily and Jack Sullivan. As investigators reviewed hours of interviews, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Every conversation, every statement, revealed slight contradictions. What initially seemed like forgetfulness or stress slowly turned into a web of carefully crafted deception. Malayaia and Daniel recounted the same evening in slightly different ways. Times shifted, actions were described inconsistently, and details about the children's moods or activities seemed to blur under pressure. These weren't just small mistakes, they were calculated adjustments, repeated across interviews, as if each new statement had been meticulously edited to cover gaps in the previous story. Then came the second twist. For a brief moment, evidence suggested that Malayaia might be entirely truthful. Some security footage aligned with her version of events. But forensic details, combined with witness statements and traffic camera data, complicated the story. Daniel's actions, once seemingly minor, now cast doubt on every claim Malayaia made. The perfect narrative the parents had woven was starting to unravel. Now I want to hear from you. Who do you think is hiding more? Malayaia or Daniel? And why? Drop your theories in the comments below. Meanwhile, the community's shock began to grow. Friends whispered, neighbors questioned, and social media users debated feverishly. What was supposed to be a tragic story of missing children was now becoming a story of manipulation, lies, and suspicion. And as the investigators pieced together the timeline, they were closing in on the critical hours where everything had changed. Every lie, every contradiction, pointed investigators toward one goal: reconstructing the exact hours leading to the disappearance. Evidence, timing, and movements had to be carefully pieced together before the full truth could emerge. Investigators left no stone unturned. Traffic cameras, neighborhood footage, interviews, and forensic evidence were meticulously reviewed. Every discrepancy between statements and evidence was logged, analyzed, and cross-checked. The deeper they dug, the more the inconsistencies piled up. What had once seemed like minor errors became major red flags. The bedtime, the evening routines, even small interactions between the children and parents, nothing aligned. Each revelation only raised more questions, and the investigators began to suspect the truth was far darker than anyone had imagined. Meanwhile, the community struggled with disbelief. The parents they had cheered for, grieved with, and defended were now under suspicion. Betrayal, anger, and heartbreak rippled through Lansdowne Station. I want you to pause here, like this video, share it with friends, and comment below where you're watching from. Let's uncover the truth together and see if we can piece it all together before the next revelation. And just when the investigation seemed exhaustive, the final inconsistencies began to surface, the pieces that would reveal the shocking truth behind the parents' performance and the reality of what happened to Lily and Jack. The final stage of the investigation brought everything into focus. The pattern of lies, the shifting timelines, the gaps in witness accounts. It all pointed toward a chilling conclusion. The story the world had been told, the image of grief-stricken parents pleading for the return of their children, was unraveling. Behind tears and cameras, deception had masked the truth. The parents' careful performance had fooled many, but it could not withstand the scrutiny of hard evidence. Lily and Jack's innocence, their laughter, their ordinary lives just hours before the disappearance, stood in stark contrast to the calculated behavior of the adults who were supposed to protect them. The shock to the community was profound. People couldn't believe the betrayal. They struggled to reconcile the image of loving parents with the evidence that told a very different story. At this point, I want to hear from you. If you were the investigator, what would you have done differently? Could you have caught the deception earlier? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on cases like this. And now, with the story laid bare, it's time to reflect on the lives affected, the community shaken, and the lessons hidden in the shadows of deception. The tragedy of Lily and Jack Sullivan leaves a permanent mark on the community and everyone who followed their story. Their lives were cut short, overshadowed by manipulation and lies. The parents' actions, the betrayal, and the resulting investigation revealed the importance of scrutiny, vigilance, and accountability. Yet even as we reflect on the deception, the grief, and the heartbreak, some questions remain unanswered, curiosity that will keep investigators, the community, and the world searching for closure. Take a moment to comment the city you're watching from. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future updates on cases like this. Most importantly, pause and pray for the souls of Lily and Jack, and for anyone whose life has been touched by deception and loss. And if you're moved, type Amen in the comments to honor their memory. Lily and Jack deserved so much more than lies and deception. May their souls find peace, and may truth never be forgotten.